Welcome in to the Wrong Side of the Pond podcast. This is your host, DJ Schweitzer. I'm without my normal partner in crime, Jeremy Lance, for our second special edition World Cup podcast, recorded live down on Cincinnati's own Fountain Square ahead of the U.S.-Portugal match. Brought to you, of course, by the Cincinnati Saints and Hoist. I'm without my normal partner, Jeremy Lance, today. He wasn't able to make it down for the game. But filling in for him, of course, is what we might consider his stunt double, my good friend Eddie Driver. Eddie's a local of Cincinnati, big soccer fan. He also looks pretty similar to Jeremy. He has a beard. He's balding. Bonus, though, he's not a Chelsea fan. He's a Spurs fan, so we're going to give him a leg up there. But Eddie was kind enough to fill in for us while Jeremy was indisposed and not able to make it down for the match. But we're real excited to have you back. Before I get too much further, I do want to explain the long layoff. Because, of course, you probably heard already, we recorded this before and during the Portugal game, which was over a week ago. So why the long layoff? So the big thing, to be honest with you, is we thought we'd lost the file. My computer crashed not long after the recording, and I'd fear that we had lost it forever. But luckily, I had done something smart beforehand. I'd emailed it between computers, and though I deleted it off the original computer we recorded on, it was still living in the email. So I dug that up this morning, was really excited about that, debated whether or not we were going to put this on, and said, why not? May as well throw that out there for everyone. So thanks for hanging in there tough with us. Let's just pretend that the Germany match hasn't happened yet. We'll talk a little bit about that at the end, just to kind of tack that on. But that said, why didn't we record for that Germany match? Part of that's because actually Jeremy and I were both indisposed for that particular match. So while the hecklers, who you may or may not hear through some of this broadcast, who were ever present while we were recording down on Fountain Square before the Portugal game, they got their wish. We didn't actually record. But that said, we will be back stronger for the round of 16 knockout match that the U.S. will be playing against Belgium today. So definitely stay tuned for that. Hopefully we won't go deleting any of the files then. But what exactly do you have in store for you on this particular podcast? So we know we're talking before and during the U.S.-Portugal game. You'll catch mine, Eddie's pre-match thoughts. Before we knew what was going on, you'll get our halftime reactions. We'll also talk a little bit about some of the other memorable moments since the last time we brought a podcast recording to you. And we'll also take a chance to talk to some of the Cincinnati Lady Saints. This is the ladies' women's half of the Cincinnati Saints team. And we'll bring a few of them up to hear their predictions about the game and also get some thoughts on their most recent action, a kind of almost bloodbath, if you will. Maybe not quite that harsh, but a very interesting match they had down in Cincinnati's Stargell Stadium. And we'll even toss in some of the crowd reactions. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. This will be a nice pod to listen to. Hopefully you can ignore the hecklers like we attempted to do. You guys won't keep us down. You can't keep us down. But either way, enjoy, and we'll be talking to you here at halftime.
Hello, Cincinnati! Hello. Welcome out for the second match. Thank you so much for coming out for this USA-Portugal game. I'm here. I'm DJ Schweitzer from the Cincinnati Saints. I'm one of our TV broadcasters. We're really glad to have all you guys out here today. I also have out here today a fill-in, not my normal man. This is Eddie Driver. Hello. Welcome. And talk a little bit about not only the Cincinnati Saints, but also some of this World Cup thing that's been going on.
This World Cup has been absolutely exciting.
Yeah, it's been very, very exciting. So we're going to talk to not only ourselves, because we don't want this just to be a two-person thing. We're going to talk to a couple of the Cincinnati Saints, the Lady Saints, that are over here to our left. We'll talk a little bit with them about their expectations for the game and also for what's going on with the Lady Saints.
Absolutely.
So, Eddie, we've had a really, really exciting World Cup so far.
We have. There's been fast-paced play.
There has.
A lot of close games.
Yep.
Fewer ties than normal.
A lot less.
And there has been one team that has been an absolute surprise this year. And, of course, I'm talking about the Ticos from Costa Rica.
Yeah, so the Ticos from Costa Rica. So we're supposed to be doing this whole support CONCACAF thing.
Yes. That's what's on the interwebs.
Yeah, the interwebs are telling us that we need to be supporting other teams in our region. And the Ticos have been probably hands down the surprise. I mean, they've not only been, kind of coming up, making big results, but also showing really well, tactically as well as technically.
Yeah, I think especially this year, why these Flores probably took it a little lightly, but then they come back in their second match. They take it more seriously in that match and still did a great result. And they're controlling the group.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think another team that's kind of surprised people a little bit has actually been the U.S. national team.
Agreed. So I think going into the group of death, and especially national teams gone in our first match, people thought that we were going to have a really difficult time and that perhaps Ghana was going to take us out before we even had a chance to get in.
Yeah, and they didn't even really, what's the word I'm looking for here? They kind of shocked us in the result because it wasn't exactly as pretty as we were looking for. It wasn't exactly, beautiful football by any sense.
Yeah, I think after Dempsey scored that first goal, everybody was on a bit of a high. Ghana came back, they started controlling the game a little bit, and they put some of the ropes. But let's wait to get into that kind of tactical talk.
Yeah, we don't want to get into that too early.
That's a big discussion.
Yeah, there's more to come on that. So we'll be talking more about what's going on with the U.S. team, what should we expect today against Portugal. But there are some other things that are going on too.
Yeah, so there's been a couple of sides in this World Cup that had some questions coming in, perennial powers, if we will, and one of them is France.
Right.
France, I think, has shown to be the strongest side so far in the World Cup. Agree or not agree?
No, I mean, I think they've definitely shown really well, and everyone expected the French to trip up because they've been, what France has been over the last few tournaments. Not exactly showing as sharp as we would expect for a team that's got a lot of talented players. But I would also say at the same time, they've got a pretty easy group. They've managed to make it out with good results so far. So I would say, while they've been strong, let's kind of temper the expectations a little bit, not let them go too crazy, because they are still France. And Patrice Evra is still in that squad, and he could very well throw a fit and throw everyone to the floor or make someone go off and have a strike on a bus.
The French have the ability to throw a whole team under the bus at any given moment.
Yeah.
It's one of their things.
Not only are they striking on the bus, but they're throwing people under the bus. So I think this would be probably a good time when we're talking a little about expectations. Well, the French have been good, Germany have been good, except for maybe yesterday. I think this would be a great time to maybe get a few of the Lady Saints up here, talk to a few of them to get their expectations. Of course, this is a Cincinnati Saints event. We want to remind all of you guys that there's soccer happening in this city aside from what's happening up on this screen. In Cincinnati, Stargell Stadium over at Taft High School, right outside of over the Rhine. So come on out and watch them play a little bit. Sorry, girls, we're going to make you share chairs.
That's okay.
So
chairs are at a premium today.
Yeah, they are at a premium. You guys have stolen them all because you're all jerks. But that said, we're going to have the girls up here talking a little bit about what their expectations are for the match. Ladies, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves a little bit before we hand you the microphone, when we hand you the microphone. Yeah. So if you haven't come out and watched either the Saints or the Lady Saints yet, this is your chance to get acquainted with them. So we'll start over here.
My name's Christy.
Hi, Christy.
I'm Jen.
All right.
I'm Danielle. I'm Erin.
Excellent, ladies. So you guys, we'll talk about what you did last night, because there's something that went down at Stargell Stadium that may or may not have been pretty, but it was also very exciting. So we'll have you talk about that. But first things first, we want to make sure we're actually getting your opinions about what's going to happen up there in a little bit. So, I don't know, Christy, you want to start? Is that cool?
Yeah, give us your take on what's going to happen today with the U.S.
Well, we're definitely looking for 3 points. And I think our chances are good against Portugal today. I think if we start out strong like the last game, we have a good chance of getting the W, as long as we don't pass it in 1 minute into the game.
Yeah, it's a long way to go when you score in the first minute. That's obviously something that's going to be a little concerning. So, Danielle, what do you think? What are your expectations for today? What do you think will help us out?
I think Aaron and I both agreed on a 2-0 score for the U.S. I don't know about you guys, but that's what we both agreed on. And I think they'll just come out fast, come out hard, and we're actually trying to start an Ivy League champ before this game starts. So
Awesome. Nice. So when we're talking about score lines that have 2 goals in it, you guys actually had 2 goals yourselves last night. You hosted in a team from Indiana over at Stargell Stadium, and there were some other goals as well, but there were also 2 more things that happened. I heard something about red cards. Anyone want to talk about red cards? It wasn't any of these girls up here. No, none of these girls had the red card, so don't get too concerned about that. But
we might have to ask the refs about the red card.
Ooh.
But this girl right here, Jen, had an absolutely gorgeous goal.
like Tim Cahill status.
They're saying Tim Cahill status up here. You know,
It was
that beautiful.
It was.
Yeah. So maybe you'll get a call from the New York Red Bulls after this.
Or it's my star status now that I have this one goal.
Yeah. So one beautiful goal is all it takes, though. So, girls, what were your thoughts on yesterday's match?
It was a physical match. I mean, we're basically playing Haiti's national team. We have their national team coach, so we knew it was going to be tough. It's a first place team. We just wanted to come out and do what we could do.
Yeah, I think we came out strong and then we battled back as well. So I mean, it was a physical match, so we did everything that we needed to do to get that win at the end. But it was an awesome game.
Excellent. So we wanted to remind you guys, now that we have all these pretty ladies up here sitting with us, not that we want to usher them off or anything like that, because it's nice to have pretty faces flanking us.
It's not us.
No, it's definitely not us. So it's good to have you up here, but we want to remind everyone that the Saints are going to be playing coming up here real soon. If you haven't been handed one of these yet, we have $2 vouchers. So if you want to watch the Lady Saints play, go back to the booth. There's a Cincinnati Saints booth back behind the fountain. You can get into the matches at Stargell Stadium for $2. That's great entertainment. You can come out, watch some of the ladies play. The men will be playing here in July again, so definitely keep your eyes out for that. A double header coming up with the Lady Saints as well, the 28th. Good thing we got you guys here to remind us what's going on. Yeah, so 5 o'clock for the ladies, and then 7:30 for the men on June 28th. So definitely come out, check out the Cincinnati Saints. Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. Cool. Oh, get that vuvuzela out of here. Get it out of here. There is always at least one. Don't let Portugal have that space in behind, and then actually try to exploit the space that they leave as they're trying to push. So early goal, I think, is something the U.S. are going to be pushing for again. But not only that, we're facing another enemy outside of Portugal today.
The weather in the house where we're playing, which is in the rainforest, is going to be stifling. It's going to be in the high 80s. It's going to have 87% humidity. That's worse than here.
Yeah, not much worse.
On a bad day.
Yeah, on a bad day. No, it's going to be really miserable down there. And they're already talking a lot about how, the temperature is going to be awful and how the humidity is going to be terrible as well. Getting over top of that is going to be a battle in itself. But it's important to remember that there are also 2 teams that are going to be facing these type of problems. So it's not just the U.S. that's subjected to this, it's Portugal too.
And I think Portugal, they try to force the ball to Ronaldo so much that they start getting out of their tactical shape.
Yeah.
They run a lot more than they practice.
Yeah.
Because they do anything they can to deliver the ball to Ronaldo, and that actually works against them in this level.
Yeah, absolutely. So look for the U.S. to try to isolate Ronaldo and make sure he's not getting his attacks. Outside of that, I think we have a really good shot today. Even before all these guys were injured and all these guys were suspended, this is a team that absolutely is capable of beating Portugal. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
And I think as long as we play the team game where Portugal falters, that's our strength. We play a team game, and you have to play a team game to win. And another big key for us today, I think, is Michael Bradley showing up.
Yep, I mean, that's going to be huge for us. And the understanding is that with Michael Bradley out, not having his best match last time, it wasn't really, what we expected. And hopefully today, we don't see him have too many bad games in a row.
Right.
So,
well, to feel good that he still won the match.
Yeah.
Michael Bradley is probably the most talented player on this one, and he didn't play his best, and he still came out with a win.
Yeah.
So I think today he's going to show up today. He's going to write that, and I think he's going to pull a lot of strings from that.
And hopefully that will pull us into a good 3 points again today.
3 points today, for sure.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for enduring us here for a while. We'll be back at halftime to talk a little bit about our sponsors. And let's get a nice USA cheer in here before we get going. So,
USA!
USA! USA! USA! USA! USA! Excellent, guys. Enjoy the match. Thanks so much for listening. Go USA!
USA!
So not exactly the best of starts for the U.S. in this U.S.-Portugal match. Unlike in the last game where we saw them jump out to a very, very quick lead, Portugal kind of turned the tables on us. In the 5th minute, we got to see Nani open up the scoring. The Portuguese Michael Jackson, if you will, getting in that initial goal. And we wanted to cut to, real quickly, just a little bit of the crowd reaction there as we hear Sir Ian Darke talk us through those moments.
You've got Hammer doing it. Andre Almeida. Back in by Veloso. It's a miscue. Push the sausage truck on there.
Yeah, so as you can probably tell, it really took the wind out of the crowd a bit. And everyone, all the optimism that we had going into the match kind of faded very quickly. And I found it kind of nice that the crowd responded well as we got later into the match. A couple good moments that happened along the way certainly helped things. But it was definitely nervous energy. Going into halftime, the U.S. weren't really in control. They certainly saw a lot more of the ball. They certainly were dictating play, but not really getting the chances that we would hope for. And ironically, what we were kind of seeing was Portugal doing what we had done to Ghana. They were sitting back, allowing us to really control the flow of things, let us have some looks from outside, somewhere we're not particularly effective from scoring from. So it was a unique strategy, not something that we're used to seeing teams do, is kind of let us be the ones who dictated the match. But the second half was a bit more of a change of pace. And we saw the U.S. start to make inroads sooner rather than later. And we'll leave a couple of those moments hopefully for the end, but definitely stay tuned as we talk a little bit at halftime about what we just experienced.
Not exactly a great match, right?
No, I'm fine with it. I think the defensive lapse that happened there in the beginning, it happens 1 out of 100 times.
Yeah, I mean, I had someone tweet at me, this was something they considered like hitting the wrong button while you're playing FIFA.
Well, that happens to me more often than what probably happens to him, right?
Well, yeah, me too. That's for sure.
But I think that defensive lapse is really the one glaring bad spot that we had during the half. I think overall we're okay with the game we're playing.
Yeah, I mean, the guys are actually controlling the match. And it's weird. Portugal were pulling what we expected to actually pull last time out on Ghana.
Right.
They're sitting back, protecting against those counters, making sure that the U.S. isn't giving a chance to actually come out and counter them and catch them on the break. And that's what we were seeing out of Portugal's goalkeeper. He's essentially playing as a sweeper right now.
Correct. And I think we've done a really good job on Ronaldo. He's gotten the ball a few times. He started to get a little pace, and then we collapsed.
Yeah. And something I pointed out before the game, we want to make sure that Coutinho is the man we're actually locking down. Ronaldo, we're keeping an eye on all over the place. I mean, anywhere he goes, we're sending 1 and 2 men with him.
Right.
But after that point, Coutinho, the man in the midfield, the guy who's actually unlocking things, has been finding a lot of space on the ball. And if we can collapse on him a little bit more quickly, we might be able to find ourselves in a little bit better order of position.
And he's so good at directly in his face when he doesn't have the ball. When he has the ball, you're always watching it, but when he doesn't have the ball, he's tending to find some open space to receive and then do his unblocking magic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think overall the U.S. are playing the game they had hoped to play. They're trying to dictate play a little bit more than they did in the last match. You can see the way that they're actually trying to move the ball around the midfield, spread them out, and try to expose those opportunities to try to counter themselves. But I think the next good match to actually go with is to actually try to hold down and slow things down in the midfield a little bit.
Agreed. I think there have been times where we have found that there's a good run to be made over the top, especially Dempsey's made a couple of runs over the top that have been really, really good. Going through the midfield, we have kept nice possession. We haven't been rushing to goal. We've been waiting for the opportunity to present itself, and then we make those through balls that have been working for us so far.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to actually being patient, looking for the right opportunities, not trying to rush things, and finding the right opportunities over top. And they're few and far between. And at this point, if they can actually find the right opportunities, push the ball around, stretch out that defense, they're going to find more and more of the ball. So if we can get into that kind of rhythm, those type of chances will start to open themselves up a little bit.
Yeah, also, I like that Portugal's already had to make an early sub.
Yep.
I think that's going to come into play, especially with the weather at the stadium today. Tim Howard.
I mean, Tim Howard is having himself a game.
Tim Howard has a great game so far. Can he keep it up in the second half? We need to support him a little more.
Howard's been great in some respects. And he's making the saves we would expect out of a keeper of his caliber. But we also need to make sure we're not just throwing the ball out and moving it too quickly. And that's something the U.S. are trying to do a little bit at the moment, is they're trying to counteract that little panic that they're feeling. Hey, we're in the hole.
Yeah, we try to rush. When you're naturally, when you're in the hole, you try to rush. We're trying to get that goal back. We looked right after the goal that Portugal had. We looked a little disconnected. So as we're moving the ball up the pitch, we need to make sure that we're waiting for the right opportunity. Play out wide, make sure that we're in some space out there. And also, we got to put some more shots on Kramer. We're having some really great shots from the outside. Bradley had a good one. But we need to actually make the keeper make some saves.
That's true. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of these opportunities, the better looks, a little bit more patience in the midfield, unlock that defense a little bit more, and the U.S. might find themselves back into this match.
I think we can. I think we're playing a game that we're okay with playing right now, a game that one great defensive play doesn't happen in the second half again. I think we're going to come out, we're going to impress, and we're going to jump back into this game quick.
Absolutely.
So halftime thoughts are in. Obviously, expectations were tempered, but everyone thought, maybe we could still pull this out. And we all kind of know what went down in this match. The U.S. continued to dictate the play. They continued to push Portugal. And it didn't take that long, only about 20 minutes after that first half. It only took about 20 minutes after that second half got underway before Jermaine Jones hit an absolute curling stunner. And I think this is definitely a point where we're going to want to take a moment to listen into that crowd reaction, because it was amazing hearing 7,000 plus fans on Cincinnati's Fountain Square just erupt as we knew we were back in this match. And it was a really awesome kind of hair standing on your arms type of feeling as you felt everyone and the energy in that square just coming to life at one time. So let's take a quick listen in.
Jones.
Man, I mean, you can't even really do it justice enough, and you can only talk about it so much without having experienced it. And I'm sure the experience was the same all over the country. You look around and you see huge crowds in Chicago's Grant Park. Big crowds gathered in Dallas. They're talking about all these other places that were having huge watch parties. I know across the river in Cincinnati, Molly Malone's, where the American Outlaws Cincinnati chapter live, they had a huge reaction there too. And suddenly we knew we were back in this match and we had a chance at it. And from there, the U.S. only grew in confidence. And about 20 minutes or so again after that Jermaine Jones goal, Clint Dempsey brought the crowd to life once again. And it's something that, again, that only the reaction can really do it justice. So we'll let that reaction here. Here's Clint Dempsey using his groin, his crotchal region to knock in what we thought might be a winner at that point. So again, I mean, Clint, not the most orthodox of goals, poking that one in for us, quite literally. And we thought we had won it. We really did. We thought we had won it. And unfortunately, and we're not going to play a reaction for this one because I think it's just going to be a lot of empty noise, maybe even some boos. But at the same time, I think the important thing to remember is while Silvestre Varela may have scored an equalizer for Portugal, and we may have been very deflated right in the moments after that. If you had told us going into the World Cup that we had been able to take 4 points from those first two matches, I think every single one of us that are American fans would have gladly accepted that. And it's a hard thing to swallow when we thought, just moments before that we were going to win this thing and that we were going to leave this match with 6 points. And obviously 6 points, that would have won us the group at that point. So it was disappointing. It was hard to take. Definitely not something that any of us wanted to really deal with. But at the same time, the U.S. had gotten two really great results against two really good teams. This Ghana side went on to give Germany loads of trouble. It was the match that was happening concurrently with this one, and we didn't really get to know what was going on with that. But this was a side that clearly was going to give big teams lots of trouble, and we were able to beat them. And Portugal, they're nothing to scoff at, even though they were shorthanded, they were missing some key players. This was still a great result. 4 points in the group of death from the first two matches. We couldn't have hoped for anything more. Now, let's talk a little bit about what happened in the next game. So obviously Germany, we play them next. We know the result. It was 1-0 to the Germans. The U.S. came out much like they did in Ghana. We were just looking to absorb. And maybe that wasn't the wisest of decisions, especially when you think about how Germany did today in their match against Algeria, another African side that gave them trouble. Algeria actually looked at times like they were the better side. And the U.S. took that very pragmatic approach. They wanted to be simple. They wanted to make sure that they weren't conceding. And that's what you have to do in those group games. Yeah, we lost. But the other results panned out in a favor that really helped us, and we got through. And that's the thing about the group stages. While a draw would have obviously been nice for us to push for, we would have all enjoyed that a little bit more, some more attacking football in that game. If we had dug ourselves a really deep hole, we may not have gotten through. And that's what it is about the group stage. You're not trying to win every match. You're trying to get out of every match. Make sure you get the adequate amount of points that are going to actually see you out of the group. And with Portugal and Ghana battling each other to a tie, a 2-2 draw, a late goal from Ronaldo, a man that we had managed to keep quiet throughout this Portugal game, was enough for us. And that's what it's all about. So that brings us to today. Today we face Belgium, a Belgian side stocked full of amazing attacking talent. We're talking about people like Romelu Lukaku, who's sometimes at Chelsea, sometimes being loaned off to other clubs. Who knows where he'll end up? He's had a poor World Cup by Lukaku standards, but that doesn't mean he's going to have a poor match against us. They also have players like Eden Hazard, who's just a fabulous attacking talent for Chelsea. We don't really need to talk much about how good he is. He is going to be a dangerous man, and one much like Ronaldo that we need to keep an eye on and to really shut down in order for us to have any sort of hope. But that's not it. They also have people like Morano Fellaini, who plays for Manchester United. They have Mertens. They have a number of really good players who could potentially place us in a really bad spot. Now, they're facing similar injury issues as us. Their captain, Vincent Kompany, the Manchester City center back, could or could not be out of this match. We don't know. But it's the same thing as Josie Altidore. He may be out of this match. The U.S. has said he's available. I kind of think those might be mind games that Jurgen and the U.S. Federation are trying to play with Belgium. But either way, Belgium haven't looked that sharp. They scraped through a group, scoring late goals against every side that they played to poke them through into the next round. And if the U.S. brings their A game side, they had a few good players in there. The U.S. also looking a little shorthanded, missing a lot of our European-based players. Not exactly at full strength for either side. But Kevin De Bruyne, an ex-Chelsea player now playing back in Germany, really tore us to pieces, and he's just another one of those attacking pieces that Belgium have at their disposal. But the U.S. are playing on a bit of confidence right now. They're looking a much sharper side. They've got their European-based players. We've got our first team more or less in place. We have a real opportunity here. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to even predict that we're going to win. But it's something that we could absolutely do. So, that said, hopefully you will have the opportunity to come down and join us on Fountain Square for the U.S.-Belgium game. 5,000 of your closest fans, friends, strangers, doesn't even really matter. We're all out there for the same reason, supporting that U.S. national team. One nation, one team, right? That's what U.S. Soccer keeps telling us. So come on out, join us. We'll be recording at 3 o'clock today. Hope you've had a chance to listen to this. There'll be food, there will be beer, great time, good atmosphere, fellow fans. You really can't go wrong there. And I do think there's a chance we will win. I don't know if we will. We'll see if it will actually happen. It's a stiff competition. But I believe we do have that chance. So thanks as always for listening in. We'll be back here shortly. Try to get this thing up a little bit faster this time around. Go USA.